Alright, I guess we are rolling. What's up, everybody? Champ here, back with another video. And I really didn't want to make the video this way because I know there's going to be a lot of people who will just look at this story and just think that it's bullshit. Because yes, I did try to get EVPs. Yes, I tried to live stream it. It didn't exactly work. The coolest part of what happened was, of course, in an area where I could not film anything. And if I could film it, I couldn't do it live stream. I would have to probably upload it. But we were excited to do this anyway. And so all I can say is you can take my word about all of this. Entirely up to you. You can completely say that I'm just blowing all of this out my ass. And it's not like I can say, it's not like I'm going to argue with you until I'm blue in the face. What I'm saying is true. You can go ahead and believe it, or you can't, basically. And so this was basically how my night at the Hinsdale House went. It was me, it was Callie, and it was also Bill. I had absolutely no idea that one of her coworkers was actually going to go with us, but it was really cool that he did, because he was able to share some of his insight too on the whole entire night. And it was actually pretty nice to have a third person there instead of just me and her. So, you know, it actually, the bad feelings of like, oh shit, what the hell have we gotten into? We were all hype, right, when I went to pick her up, because I can't trust her car. We're shit. I drove all the way up there, picked both of them up, drove all the way the hell back down there. The weird feelings actually didn't happen until, like, this is what happened. So we were about 5 miles out, maybe, well, not even. We were about 5 minutes away, probably about 2-3 minutes out. And by the way, that road that Hinsdale on is such a hazard to go through. If it wasn't for like deer and stuff at nighttime, I wouldn't drive any faster than 25. That road is so ridiculously narrow and so like just curvy where you have to slow down to like 15 to make the turn. That area was a nightmare. Anyway, so it was about 2 miles out, and Callie was in the passenger seat besides me, was just like, I'm super hype, And I'm like, I can tell you right now, that hype, that feeling of excitement isn't going to hit me until I actually see the actual house. Because Lord knows, I've seen so many documentaries about this house and all this other stuff. I don't know what to expect. Then all of a sudden I drove into like down the hill. It was down the hill before you go like kind of like flat land, and then you finally take the turn to go up to Hinsdale, right? It wasn't until I hit that slope, that 2 mile left slope, where all of a sudden it felt like I was just trespassing. It felt like I was trespassing. My heart was just beating out of my chest a little bit. And I'm like, does anybody else feel like nervous all of a sudden? And then, on top of this, and this is a very important thing to bring out too. Believe me, my face isn't red. It's just the lighting. Here, I'll just do this. Maybe. There you go. See? My face wasn't red, but from that moment all the way up until probably the following morning, it just felt like my face was sunburned. My whole head was a lot warmer than it should have been, right? I'm like, damn, does anybody feel that? And, Callie was just like, yeah, I feel like really nervous, it feels like I shouldn't be here. And I'm like, yeah, me too. So, then we find the private house, or the private road, the dead-end road that the house sits on. And we drive up that curly driveway, and then I see the house, and I was like, oh, shit. It's like meeting your celebrity crush. You can't believe that you're going to meet them until you actually see that person, and you're like, oh, fuck, there they are, man. Holy shit. So, Dan was there. Dan Class, huge shout out to you, dude. Never judged anybody. I told him what I thought of the place. I told him, look, I'm no paranormal investigator. I've only been on one investigation, and it was a life changer for me. But that, dude, let's face it, that ain't no Hinsdale, and that was about 6-7 years ago, dude. You know what I mean? I saw like elementary stuff to you, and I freaked the hell out. Okay. So, and this is really, really weird, because every single time I was outside, I had that feeling that I'm trespassing, kind of feeling. The second I was in the house, though, all those feelings went away. And the only time I was like, that was also the time I started to get a headache. I could like, almost like I could sense like people like looking at me and stuff. Besides the fact that the house looks creepy as fuck, and no offense to any like, no offense to Dan, it's just the way the house is. You know, all those feelings went away, and it's like, well, if they are, if they were saying that demons aren't involved in this house, and stuff like that, I definitely believe it now, because whatever's haunting this place is just like what's haunting the last place I investigated. They just wanted to be seen. They just wanted to be heard. You know what I mean? And turns out that there's a portal in what is Mary's room, and just random spirits just go in and out of that room. And they're protected by the house itself. They don't go outside. They just manifest in the house. And ever since Dan took over that place, it became more of an attraction, and the spirits there like it because they need everybody's energy in order for them to keep doing their ghostly shit. You know what I mean? So he gives us a tour of the house. He's like, all right, I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'm like, all right, cool. Thank you very much. He told us how to lock up, told us like, yo, this is what you do. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. And we're like, all right, cool. He's like, all right, guys, house is yours. Do whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? And then out of nowhere, Kelly was like, oh, shit, I forgot my Ouija board. And Dan just nonchalantly, like, it was like, oh, I forgot my glass of water. He's like, oh, yeah, just, look, we got like 4 of them up here. You know what I mean? There's one up in, what's his name's room? Just make sure you don't use it outside. If you want to use it in here. Because there's nothing, I'm telling you, I'm a paranormal investigator myself. Nothing evil really is in this house. Out there, though, don't even fucking think about it. You know what I mean? So, I'm just like, all right, cool. I was going nuts about that fucking thing. I did not want anything to do with it. You hear so many negative things about Ouija boards, and just people who want to misuse it. We're just like, well, Kelly was like, well, if we use it, we're going to use it responsibly. You know what I mean? I know how to open and close a session, and don't summon, like, what to do if you do summon a negative spirit. I'm like, whatever, I ain't doing any of that. Right away, and thank you, Dan, because after he left, we were just chilling, talking in the living room, right? He just opens the door in the kitchen, where we just moved into the living room. So to us, we're just thinking, oh shit, paranormal, the door just fucking swung open. And I literally screamed like Dashiell. I was like, oh god! And Dan's like, nah, it's just me, I just forgot to get a drink. That was when I wanted to get a drink before I left. I'm like, you fuck. So I'm like, are you good? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, I'm leaving for real. See you guys later. Okay, cool. Right away, knocks, footprints. That's when I set up the live stream in the living room. We didn't know what to do. I tried EVPs. I'm no paranormal investigator. And by the way, spoiler alert, I didn't get any EVPs all night. Maybe it's just because of the recorder that I'm using. I don't know. I didn't get one damn thing. I listened to that thing I don't know how many times. I didn't get any responses all night. And I feel really bad for you guys, because like I said in the beginning, man, I really didn't want to show you or tell you what happened tonight like this. I really wanted to show you guys proof. And I'm really sorry about that. But anyways, so after a while we decided to go up to the woods. We're like, all right, cool. So we go up to the woods. The bad feeling kind of went away just slightly. Because like I said, outside, bad shit. And it went away slightly because we were just said out loud, we're going to the Giving Tree. And for those of you who don't know, those woods is basically a Native American slaughterhouse, like slaughtering ground. Because after the Revolutionary War, those Native Americans, I think, they signed with the British, and when the British lost, they tried to rally all their troops together and be like, okay, let's see what we're going to do. And that's when the Americans are like, okay, you're our friends, here's your treaty, here's your treaty, here's your treaty. And then they violate the treaty, and violate the treaty, and violate the treaty, to the point where they basically we're like, okay, we have no choice but to attack you guys because even though you took all our guns away, we're really, really pissed because you keep taking our lands. We're gonna attack you. Didn't turn out that well. Americans whooped their ass, right? So we go pay the respects to uh to the Giving Tree. Just be like, hey, we mean you guys no harm. If you can protect us, you can. I know from past episodes of that house, and there's documents somewhere, I can't remember where, that say this, but Indians, I'm sorry, well, they don't like being called Indians. Native Americans, they don't want anything to do with the house for some reason. But at the same time, those woods are extremely unsettling. You have like just random thuds, like as if there's like full trees like falling to the ground. Every once in a while, you hear like a drum. Just more on that later. So we're like, all right, cool. We gave to the Giving Tree. Let's go back to the bonfire. What are we gonna do? Let's whip out that Ouija board. Okay. And before you guys get worried, this is what I thought was going to happen. I thought we were going to summon something, and we're basically all fucked. And then we get the fuck out of there later on in the night because Dan said, "Here's what you do. Even if you want to leave early in the morning, this house freaks you out. Just make sure you do this." And I thought, like, well, we're gonna bring a demon home with all three of us. That's what we're gonna do. And I'm just like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And they're like, well, so she's talking to Dan, Dan, and she's like, best place in the house to do this and safest place in the house to do this. And he's like, well, this is going to sound kind of weird, but do it up in Mary's room, the one that feels the most unsettling. The reason why it feels unsettling is because it's a portal. Portal and mortals make you feel nauseous, but in reality, I guess you're not in any real danger. I don't fucking know how the story goes. I'm not psychic or anything. So that's what they do. I witness it, and it actually was a very sad story. We actually came across and by the way, this is what I really wish that I could film. This was literally the highlight of the night. So Ouija boarded up. All right, cool. We get in touch with this spirit named William. And long story short, William died in August 2020. I never asked the date, but I asked the month and the year. August 2020. In a jail in Quebec. And that's what's so baffling about portals. If he died in Quebec, what the fuck is he doing in Hinsdale, New York? So, long story short, he's in purgatory. And he was sent to this house to redeem himself. And we asked him, well, if we prayed to you, would anything happen? And he said no. And I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense because, I was raised Catholic, and one of the things you learn about purgatory is because this is God's test for you. He wants you to figure this out. And he wants you to fulfill what you have left to fulfill. So that way you can go to the other side, heaven, I'm assuming. You know what I mean? And he's like, and basically he told us, I want to cross over to the other side. I was like, is there anybody that, why do you want to go to the other side? And you wrote out the word Tom. And I was like, is Tom your son? And it moved to no. And we were like, is Tom your father? Moved to yes. So we asked it, what do you want us to do? And it said, help. And we're just like, do you want us to help Tom? And I'm like, okay, we're just like, where is Tom today? And he spelled out the word dead. And I go, okay. Is he in heaven? And it moved over to yes. It's like, okay, well, what advice do you have for us? And he spelled out the word run. And I said, run from this house? And it went from no. And we're like, what do you mean by run? Like, what are we running from? And he spelled out the word hell. I was like, what the fuck? And we're just like out of nowhere, and I asked this question. I was just like, "Are you talking about when we die?" And then it moved to yes, and I was like, "Oh, thank God." I thought like hell was just opening up in the creepy ass basement that's just right the fuck next to the toilet. I'm gonna get to that in a fucking minute. I thought hell was right the hell down there. I'm like, okay, so you're talking about when we die. I'm like, oh. So I followed up with a follow up question that said, are you talking about like go towards the light, that cliche type of thing? And I think I worded it like that too. And then he moved over to yes. It's like, okay. So we asked it a couple questions, a couple more questions, like, do you feel bad? And he said yes. And I'm like, well, we're like, how do you feel right now? Upset. And I was like, we feel very bad for you. And he spelled out the word thank you. And there's really no other questions to ask. I asked him, what were you in prison for? And he wrote out stealing. I said, what did you steal? He wrote out money. And then we're like, how many years in prison did you get? And he wrote out 40. I was like, 40 years in prison for stealing? That's like grand larceny, dude. Like, what the fuck? I said, did you rob a bank? And it went to no. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get into that. I guess it's not important. And basically we asked him, well, is basically your last task to finish what you did on Earth and then you can cross over to the other side? He said yes. And we said, okay, good luck with that. Thank you for not, tearing apart our souls. You know what I mean? Thank you for not being an evil prick that just wants to possess one of us and then we have to deal with that the rest of our fucking lives. Thank you for not latching on to us like you're a Horcrux from fucking Harry Potter. So when we go back to so when I go back to this apartment or anybody else goes back to their fucking houses, their whole entire place is not a train wreck. And he's just like, thank you. And I guess we close it up by saying, okay, goodbye. He spells out goodbye. Sad, touching tale. This one dude named William, this is his dad, Tom, who passed away, went to the other shits. And that was the highlight of the night. And by then it was like 12:30. Activity's kind of picking up in the house. Knocks, fucking footprint. Or it's not like footprints running in a row. It's just like footprint, knock. It's like, oh my God. It's like, dude, we're not going to fucking sleep in this place, man. So we get downstairs. We're talking about it. It's like, oh man, poor Will, did you move it? Did you move it? No. I'm like, put that fucking shit away. No more. We were lucky once. We're not going to put our luck in trouble twice. Like, put it away. Just, no. Just, like, no. Just, no. So we're just like, okay, well, we're getting ready for bed because by this point, it's like 1 a.m. And if you know anything about that house, it just saps all the energy out of you. It feels like you just worked like a 13, 14-hour day and, you finally put the fucking kids to bed, your parents are in bed or whatever, whoever's watching this, just exhausted as fuck. And we're like, okay, I think we have enough time to do one more thing in this place. What do you want to do? And then an idea just randomly hit me. And I'm like, let's do something in this house that I guarantee you nobody else has ever done. And the reason why is because we're not paranormal investigators, so therefore we can actually think of this fucking shit. You know what I mean? All the other paranormal investigators would never fucking do this. And they're like, okay, what do you want to do? Let's watch videos of the Hinsdale House inside Hinsdale. Nobody's ever done that before. So it's like, and while we're doing that, we can probably try to sleep. I still have my laptop set up in the same area. Bill was just like, whatever, I'm going to sleep in one of the haunted ass rooms down there. So we're watching the video. We keep the video on low, right? So he can go to sleep. And then that's when you start to hear the activity in the woods just get louder and louder and louder. I've heard things like gunshots. I heard more drums. I heard what do they do? The war cry, that that shit. Heard that. The crickets, for some reason, by the house were loud as fuck. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I look over, Callie's passed out. Bill's asleep in the fucking room on the other side of the kitchen. Me and Callie were both in the living room on different couches and stuff. The video ends about 30 minutes later. I'm exhausted. It's like, well, I mean, I could easily fall asleep right here, but I'm afraid to. And I don't even know why. These guys are asleep. I'm the only one in the house that's awake. I don't want to sleep, but I don't want to stay awake either, because it seems like whatever's haunting this place, they don't give a flying fuck about us anyway. So I don't even know why I feel this way. They're just doing their own business all around us. Normally in hauntings, it seems like there's something that just wants to constantly get your attention. To me, it seems like these knocks, this random footprint, they're all optional. We've never seen anything fly off of a table, fly off of a counter. We've never seen any part of apparition. And here's the problem, and if you know me personally, this is a huge problem. I don't sleep well in other people's houses, and that includes friends. You know what I mean? Blake's always inviting me over to his place after I drink hardcore. Well, that's different because I pass out, but like I can't just spend the night there and not expect to wake up at like 6 in the morning and not go back to bed, or wake up 4 times during the course of the night. I still do that here. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if I take sleeping meds or not. That's just the way it is, you know? So after a while, I finally doze off, and about 7 or 8 times, all it takes is just one to wake me up, and I'm awake for 15 minutes, fall back asleep. Next thing you know, wake the fuck up, fall back asleep. A whisper in the house somewhere like, ah, because I can't form words apparently. That wakes me up, fall back asleep. At one point in the middle of probably, I don't know what time it was, 3:34 in the morning if I were to guess, I hear the toilet flush by itself. I look over, Callie's sleeping. I'm assuming it's Bill. I can't see him unless I get up. But then I don't hear any footsteps. And I'm like, okay. So either Bill went to the bathroom, and depending on whatever the hell he did there, he either took a mean-ass shit or took a leak. You know, he went to the bathroom. But after he flushed the toilet, he either just sat there and did nothing or just stood there and do nothing for 10 minutes. And I'm like, well, that's a fucking ghost. I guess I called this poltergeist activity. The damn thing just flushed by itself. This goes on all the way up until about 9:30 in the morning. All the way up till 9:30 in the morning. You know, Callie's passed the fuck out. She slept until at least 10:30. I don't know how the fuck she did that. And so I guess all 3 of us had a really weird experience that night. For me, like I meant like while we were sleeping. For me, it was the toilet thing. I walked up to Bill and I was like, anything unusual happened to you last night? Oh, yeah, and by the way, side note, while I was trying to sleep, something kept flickering like the back of my hair. I need a haircut fucking badly, and I got like peach fuzz and shit every once in a while, and I think this was my imagination. I'm going to chalk it up as that. I would always feel like a light little flicker every once in a while. But I think that was just me getting freaked the fuck out. It might have actually happened. I'm not going to say that it will. Whatever, that's neither here nor there. So I'm talking to Bill the next morning. Anything happened to you last night? He's like, did you hear that voice by the back front door? Now, the room that he's at, he's sleeping in a bedroom that's off by the kitchen, and the front door is like up here. And I was like, no, I didn't hear. He's like, yeah, man, I woke up probably 2:30 in the morning. All I heard was, hello? And I was frozen. Didn't hear any footsteps walking away. Didn't hear any of that shit. Just 3 knocks and a hello. And I waited for 15 minutes and I didn't hear anything. And after a while, whatever the fuck it is, because all 3 of us were feeling it, the exhaustion took over, fell right back asleep. I'm like, yep, that's probably a ghost, because it's 2:30 in the morning. Like, nobody's going to be there, you know what I mean? And nobody's, again, just like the toilet thing, nobody's going to knock, hello? And then just stand here staring at the door for like 20 minutes. Like, so And then as for Callie, she wakes up and was like, wow, my heating blanket's still on. Because she had a heating blanket, right? And I was like, what do you mean, He's like, well, the longest that you can have this running for is about like 20 minutes or something like that. And then it turns off by itself. This thing, I think, was running all fucking night. Oh, okay. Well, shit. Okay, well, we're up. Do you want to leave? And we're like, well, let's visit the Giving Tree and then we'll leave. Just to say thanks for not fucking us over while we're inside the house, you know what I mean? Because we all heard that fucking shit the night before. And we're just like, okay, cool. Packed up our shit, threw it in the car, walked up to the Giving Tree, said, thanks again. Please accept our gifts. I offered one of my cigars. Callie offered one of those painted rock things. I don't know what the hell Bill offered. And we're just sitting there, just like, thank you very much. Okay, let's get the fuck out of here. So, we got out of there. My headache feels better after driving for a while. Right after leaving that thing, I no longer had that sunburn face feeling anymore. That was all gone. I'm like, I gotta get you guys home. I didn't sleep well last night. I just kept waking up and waking up and waking up. So dropped them off. I got back here at about maybe 4:15, something like that. Knocked the fuck out, went to bed. I just woke up maybe not even 20 minutes before I started this video. And that was the Hinsdale House. What are my conclusions on it? If it's the kind of house where you easily get freaked out by random knocks, random footsteps, I took my shoes off, so it's not dramatic anymore. If you're freaked out by that, if you're freaked out by possible shit moving on its own, if you're, any way for whoever the hell's trying to communicate with you just to say, hey, I'm here, random voices, random whispers, if that kind of stuff freaks you out, this house is for you. But you just gotta know, and you gotta keep in the back of your mind, these guys mean you absolutely no harm. There's nothing evil inside the house itself. There's nothing evil. There's just a random ass portal inside one of the random ass bedrooms, right? Random spirits basically come through, check the place out, get the fuck out. Think of it like one of those, the Flu Network from Harry Potter, where you're in the Ministry of Magic and there's like 48 fireplaces lined up in a row, and you're dead when you're in the ministry, and you're just like, I'm going to go through this one, and then boom, you just random to be in the random Hinsdale house, and you're like, all right, cool, how you doing, blah, 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 talk to each other, blah, 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 okay, I'm out. Apparently that's how it works inside the house. Now, outside the house, however, that's a whole fucking different story, dude. It feels like the fucking entire U.S. Army is out there to fuck your ass up, you know what I mean? You disrespect them in one way, they're gonna fuck your ass up. That's the vibe from outside, especially inside the woods. If you give it to the Giving Tree, they kind of seem to ease up on you. We're like, okay, I guess you're chill, you know what I mean? But only for like an hour or so. Now get the fuck off my lawn. Get the fuck out of my forest. That's how it feels like. So, just know that if you're inside the house itself, technically you're safe. Technically you can fuck with a Ouija board and get away with it. Nothing's going to follow you home. They don't even give a fuck about you in the long run. They really don't. And that's part of the reason why people are drawn there. They want answers. They want answers. The spirits that haunt that place, they don't give them the answers. So all the paranormal investigators are like, well, we might as well go back later. Meanwhile, the spirits are getting the win too, because they need energy from you. They need energy from your devices. My cell phone died twice that night. So in case anybody was just like, well, why didn't you go on Facebook Live on my phone? There you go. I went through 25% battery in like not even a half an hour, and I wasn't even on my phone at all. As for why I didn't catch any EVPs, maybe it's not designed for that. I just used my recorder that I used for class. Apparently it doesn't pick up EVPs, who knew? And in order for you to catch any apparitions, because I never understood this about paranormal investigations, apparently you need to have every single light off in the fucking place, pretty damn much. And I'm like, well, what's the point of live streaming then? Because then nobody's gonna see anything. They're gonna completely miss it if there's something there. They're just gonna have to take our word for it if they see us like in the shadows jump up and go, "Did you see that?" And I'm pointing to empty black room that's over there. I just saw a shadow. Meanwhile, if you were on live stream, you'd rewind it, be like, "Where the fuck is this?" I turn up the jack up the brightness. What the fuck is that? Because my live stream is not designed for night vision. So, very disappointing. I really wish I could show you guys everything. And that's Hinsdale. It's designed to bring people back constantly. Will I ever be back there? If I am not with a paranormal group, no. I would rather be with like 2, 3 psychics, EMF readers, EVP people. There is a thing where if I wanted to, I could spend $100 and I could buy the whole entire digital thing, because we were being recorded inside the house all night too by Dan, and I could technically shift through and listen to it. If you ever went on Dan Class's YouTube channel, he goes live all the time, and whether there's anybody in the house or not, he'll just live stream, and that was it. So, would I do it again? I could probably do it with Blake once, but I much prefer to do it with an actual paranormal team. That's my answer. Other than that, no, not really interested in going back there. Nothing against that place. The Hinsdale House is haunted as fuck. Absolutely haunted as fuck. You get a lot of activity there. None of it is negative, though. And that's the main reason why I picked Hinsdale. There's no demons running around inside the house, freaking people out, trying to possess motherfuckers. You can actually fall asleep in that house and nothing would technically happen to you. The only reason why I stayed up that night is because if it's not my own place, I'm a very light sleeper. Everything rakes me up. Birds singing outside would make me up. That's just who I am. So, signing the hell on out of here. I don't know. I need to go to the hospital and see a priest now. Who knows?